Todd Pinkney, one of our P1s who came to our Seattle Kraken expansion draft watch party the other night, asks if Monty the Squirrel's going to use the lawnmower 4.0 to trim his nuts. I was thinking more, how about that? But
how about that?
It's not an unreasonable question.
No, it is not.
Monty the Squirrel. Can we get that done up by the end of the show? And I'm in favor of your mom sewing the costume this time.
You are?
Yes.
Are you watching?
Paula?
She's probably watching.
What's going on back here? They're all laughing back there. Oh, I'd want to. Oh.
Because then you paused. And I was like, this in favor of her. What?
I know. I heard them bust out laughing. I'm like, what are you?
And then you sewing the costume, and it's like, just disarmed me. I'm like, okay, we're good. She can sew the costume.
I'm in favor of your mom.
What? Say it. Say it.
Let's just imagine that Steve Armitage is hosting the broadcast tonight. How would that go, Mike?
Oh, thanks, Mark. It's going to be a great series as the Calgary Flames, a fabulous city, up against Edmonton. Edmonton! Germs, disease, sweatpants with good shoes.
Don't bring the hate on Rod. This is all on this end, folks. Be mad at this guy.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right. Mike Richards to start the day. Always love that. Great impersonation there. Welcome inside the Rod Pedersen Show. I'm Clark Monroe, a.k.a. Producer Clark. I'm going to assume that many of you watching at this moment probably haven't seen me on camera on this show in about 3 years. Because Rod went down south, and since then I haven't really been on camera. You might have heard my voice a couple of times, or Rod referring to me on a daily basis as Producer Clark, or me hitting the sound cues. Actually, Rolf, if you're in the back, can you do my job for me and hit one of the sound buttons for me?
Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you, Rolf. So anyways, yes, I'm Producer Clark. I might be putting a face to the name right now for a lot of you, and for a lot of you as well. This studio is going to appear either very familiar or very confusing, and I'm hoping it's one or the other, because if this is a treat actually for our original viewers, our day ones, our first couple of years on the show while Rod was in the studio here up in Saskatchewan, this is a treat for you, because this studio has not been touched. Well, it has been touched in the last 3 years, but we have vacated this studio. It was taken over by some squatters. And this is the original studio. This is the original desk. Actually, let's take a wide shot now of this room that we are in. As you can see, it is in disrepair. This was the set for Rod for approximately would have been 1,000 shows. I think not 1,000 shows. That's too big of a number. Probably 500 shows or so, though. This was the set for Rod's show. You see the shelving unit over in this way. You see the background. It's been a little bit disheveled. The milestone sign over my shoulder over here, that used to be up on the wall. It fell down. The on-air sign, it's falling a little bit. It's got unplugged as well. We have cords and cables all over the place, cardboard boxes. I think there's a mattress behind me. Somebody was living in here. So we're having some fun today with the original set. And again, not many people who are watching, because we've picked up a ton of our viewers from the Game Plus era, I'll call it, as a lot of people are used to Rod being down in Florida. But we do have a good chunk of people, especially our YouTube and Facebook viewers, that are day ones. They were here since 2019 when this show started up. So for them, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy to see. You can see an old, old Rod Pedersen Show mug back on the wall over there. Oh, The nostalgia. Anyways, we have a lot to get into today, like the NFL playoffs, a ton of NHL talk. We have some Major League Baseball stuff because I am a baseball guy. Rod says that all the time. I'm a baseball guy through and through, and I'm gonna let myself talk about some baseball today. Rod doesn't always love the baseball talk, but I'm bringing it in today. So buckle up if you like that. Send in your questions. Throw in the comments now. Now's the time. Today on the show, we're gonna be joined in like moments here by my good buddy James Roberts from Offside Hockey Talk. He's going to sail us through the first two segments of the show today. After that, we're going to be joined by SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre, because as you may know, most of you probably don't, I'm actually, part of my job is being the co-director of media for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, the SJHL. So I have a very close connection with Kyle McIntyre, so he's going to jump on today. We'll talk a little junior hockey for you. In hour two, CFL Hall of Famer Nick Lewis is going to be here, so very excited for that. I've known Nick now, well, basically since this show started about 5 or 6 years ago, and he's got some great stuff going on. We're going to talk a ton of football. So hour two, we're going to dive deep into the football with Nick Lewis, and then after that, Toronto Blue Jays columnist and Deep Left Field podcast host Mike Wilner is going to join me to try and make sense of this MLB offseason, because it has been fairly wild. But I want to hear from you. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, I just see that Kevin the Medium is very confused. Kevin's saying, "Where's Rod?" And Kevin, that's a great question. Rod is currently in the air, soaring above the ground. He's going home. He was in Chicago for a great couple of weeks, or a couple of days, I should say, with Serena. They went to a couple Blackhawks games. If you follow Rod on social media, he's been showing some pictures and stuff of his travels and of his games that he's gone to and the things he's gotten up to. So make sure you go check that out. But he is currently flying back home to Florida. He'll be back tomorrow. Business as usual tomorrow. I'm just the stopgap. We're here in the old Rod Pedersen Show studio. As you can see, the cable's everywhere. There's a carpet back here. There's a mattress behind me. Somebody was living in here. It's been a while since this Rod Pedersen Show studio has been fired up, but we're excited. Yeah, Moose is also MIA, but he's not missing in action. We actually know exactly where he is. He's broadcasting a curling event, so he's also busy. He's actually calling a match right now, a draw, I should say. So he's busy right now, but Kelly Lewick's checking in from upstairs. He's saying would love to hear the McDavid talk. We'll get to that because now we're going to bring in my good buddy, James Roberts. James is joining us from the Maritimes, the East Coast, the not-so-least coast. James, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, what's going on, Clarky? No problem, buddy. You put in the call. I'm here.
Absolutely. My first call, actually, James, so thank you for picking up. Anyways,
Jeez,
James,
I figured I'd be like, what, 5th or 6th on the list?
No, you were top of the list, buddy. You always are. My first thing, before we get into actually any of the sports talk, I just want to tell you a little bit, James, about my weekend, because I think you'll appreciate this. We're of the same age range here. Over the weekend, I was in Saskatoon, and it's the farewell tour, how crazy is that to say, for Sum 41. Sum 41 was massive from like 1997-8 to about 2007 or 8. They had a huge window in the punk rock scene. Every hockey room, dressing room growing up had Sum 41 blasting out of it. And I went to the concert. I was right in the mosh pit, James. We were right in the middle of it all. It was pretty crazy. And I became, because I'm 6'3", I'm pretty large, and I became the official crowd surfing lifter-upper. That was my job. So I was with this other guy who was about 6'4". He was right beside me. People just kept coming up to us and saying, lift me up, lift me up. So I think I lifted up about 22 people, James, over the course of the concert.
Jesus, you got your workout in.
I did get a workout. So, like, you know what? I wasn't hungover the next day because I sweat it all out, and it was great. It was awesome. But, James, I wanted to just ask you, you've been to some really cool concerts lately. What's one of your favorite concerts that you've been to recently, or maybe, like, best of all time? And if you're watching in the viewers, in the comment section, please let us know right now, what's one of your favorite concerts that you've been to, or maybe one that you would love to go to one day? But, James, what's yours favorite concert that you've been to?
Luke Combs was my favorite.
Nice.
Absolute pure entertainer. Always watching him on stage, drinking with him, having fun. Just a good time. The entire concert, very engaging. So not just the music, but he's also telling stories, talking to people, interacting with people along the stage. So that was one of my favorite ones. And then Luke Bryan too. Obviously coming out on the quad on the stage and just fire shooting everywhere. That was pretty wicked too.
Country boy, James Roberts. That's what I've been calling you. Big country, James Roberts. Carlos Legena. Carlos has been with us since day one. He says, all they have is a Seahawks helmet. And it's like, yeah, actually, Jordan, if you can go wide shot again, or yeah, go wide shot really quickly. We do have this. This was the original desk piece that Rod used way back. This was the first thing we had on the desk, I think, actually. It was the Seahawks helmet. And Carlos, I just said, a squatter has been living in this studio for like 3 years. Things got stolen. Things got broken. We're just trying to pick up all the pieces here as we come back into the studio. But let's bring James back in. James, we got a lot to talk to. I'm going to hit the quick 6 show topics. We'll go over 6 of the bigger topics in the world of sports today. There's the horn. Thank you, Jordan, in the back there. And we're gonna have some fun with these. We'll just go through the topics, and then next segment, James, we are going NHL. All segment.
Let's go.
This segment, we're going to mix it up a little bit. So the quick 6 show topics. Got to be careful how I say that. We'll start with Will Howard being named the offensive MVP, passing for 231 yards and 2 touchdowns, 57 yards on the ground. Quinshawn Judkins. Now, if that's not a name out of the Key and Peele name spaghetti, I don't know what is. Quinshawn Judkins found the end zone 3 times to lead Ohio State past Notre Dame, 34-23 to win the college football national championship. James, did you check in at all? Have you been following college football much? It is okay if you say no, but have you been following it much at all through this college playoffs?
The only way that I check in is vicariously through Bonesy, Joe Bowen, who calls Leaf games. Obviously, I believe they're big college football guys, but no, I haven't been checking in. The guys that I work with, obviously, they're big into it, so I pick up tidbits here and there. But no, I'm not a college football guy, unfortunately.
No, that's totally fine. We're going to bring in Nick Lewis later in the show, and he's going to break it all down. But all I will say is the marketing machine that NCAA football has become has been so fun to watch this season. Watching Shane Gillis get involved with like full-fledged production commercials for this Notre Dame team. Shane Gillis, obviously a big comedian coming up right now. He's super involved in college football. Didn't even go to Notre Dame, but he's a huge Notre Dame fan. And James, I have a funny story, actually. I just heard a story about the movie Rudy, because I think a lot of people are Notre Dame fans because of the movie Rudy. I heard that story is so falsified. It's not true at all, and everyone actually kind of hated Rudy. But in the movie, everyone loved him. So that's a fun story for a whole nother time. We don't have time to get into that. But if you Google it or look it up, I think there's a TikTok video kind of explaining the falsified Rudy story, and it's really interesting, actually. But let's move on to topic number 2, because, James, I know there's some emotion going on in Blue Jays land for this one right now. The Toronto Blue Jays have signed Silver Slugger Award winner Anthony Santander to a 5-year deal worth $92.5 million with an option for a 6th year. An opt-out is included in there as well. But the 30-year-old switch-hitting outfielder, nicknamed Tony Taters, like, are you kidding me? That's like the best nickname ever. Tony Taters is coming off a season with a career-high 44 home runs, 14 more than Vladimir Guerrero, who was the only Blue Jay to crack 20 home runs last season. So it's a much-needed power boost. James, what was your first reaction when you saw this move? And then we can get into the offseason as a whole.
My first reaction was finally. We watch so many different players that the Blue Jays are accordingly linked to, that they're going to get, that it's down the path, and then they go to the Dodgers. So It was nice to finally see one go over the line for the Blue Jays and get someone in the roster that could be that middle of the roster bat to really give us some pop in the lineup. So I was very excited. I mean, I was the first one in our group chat to post that we got him, and everybody was like, yes, finally. And that's the feeling I had. Like, you finally see something official, and it's not official till the Blue Jays tweet it out. But by that point in time, it seemed like it was a done deal.
Yeah, and the funniest tweet I saw, I think, was actually Dave Hodge, the legendary Dave Hodge. And he tweeted out, how funny would it be if the Blue Jays said that the Dodgers finished second in this bidding process? And I just, that would have been chef's kiss had that happened. But the Blue Jays, I don't think, are that kind of team. I don't think they would just go out and do that. It has been a bit of a frustrating offseason, like you said, James. Blue Jays have been in on it seems like every single person, and then they miss out last second for whatever reason. So it is pretty frustrating. Later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Mike Wilner. We'll break that down a little bit deeper. But I also want your thoughts on this one, James. Connor McDavid and Tyler Myers have both been suspended 3 games for their actions in Saturday's game between the Oilers and the Canucks. Both players cross-checked an opponent to the head or neck area, and they received match penalties at the time, but they got matching suspensions. I'm seeing some people saying that this is too much for Connor McDavid. Excuse me. Me and James are Leafs fans. We saw Austin Matthews get 2 games for something I think wasn't even as bad as this, and he's getting 3 games. To me, that's that's a perfect amount. It sends a message. And also, Connor McDavid's been on kind of a dirty streak lately. For those who haven't been paying attention, so maybe he did need a little bit of a elbow chicken wing. Maybe he needed a message sent to him. I'm not sure. But what did you think about the suspensions?
Both 3 games, perfect. If you're going to cross-check anybody in the head, neck area, that's a 3-game suspension or more, given whatever player it is. Obviously, Connor McDavid, probably a little less. Austin Matthews, same thing with Darlene. But yeah, if you're a player in this league and you break the rules, you should be held accountable. Doesn't matter what your name says on the back. Doesn't matter the marketing that comes with you. If you break the rules, you should get suspended. I'm fine with it. A lot of people upset with the fact that McDavid was kind of being mugged and, there was no calls, and obviously it was a frustration thing. But at the same time, guys get frustrated all the time. They don't cross-check guys in the head. So 3 games, no problem with it.
Yeah, I think it's a good amount as well, and I'm fine with it personally. And you know what?
And let me say this, Clark.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I do have him on my fantasy team too. He's my most productive offensive player, so that's coming from me on that side of things too. I was like, man, I guess my weak shot.
Yeah, and you know what? I have a weird feeling the Oilers are going to be okay. It's 3 games. As William Nylander said just last week, it's just 3 games. What's the big deal? They'll be okay.
Yep.
They'll be okay. Kelly Lewicks checking in. He said, would you guys trade Bo Bichette? I'll bring that up possibly with Mike Wilner later in the show. Kelly, stick around. Personally, no, I would not. James, would you trade Bo Bichette in a word or two here?
Anybody's tradable, buddy. If you can get a good package, anybody can move.
There you go. I like it. Paul Jefferson's checking in. Sports Talk from the Rectangle. Awesome, Clark. Good to see you, Paul. I know we're also on Facebook Live. So got Carlos Legena checking in over there on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, hit the like and share buttons for me if you don't mind. I know Rod doesn't say that all the time, but if you're watching on Facebook today, like and share helps a lot, so please do that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Just a couple more minutes left in this segment, James, so I'm going to rattle through these last 3 topics, and then when we come back, we're going to dive in more on the NHL topic that I'll talk to you about in just a second here. But number 4, our topic was the NFC and AFC championships are set. Washington, can't believe it. Washington will visit the flying high Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC championship, while Josh Allen and the Bills will visit the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs, of course. James, who's your team?
Chiefs.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was the Chiefs. You're a big Swiftie. Of course, it's the Chiefs.
Listen, I was a Chiefs fan before it was cool.
I know you were. You're a hipster in that regard. But they'll meet in the AFC Championship. Washington pulled off the surprise 45-31 win over the heavily favored Detroit Lions. The Eagles snuck by the Rams 28-22. Honestly, I thought that would have been more of a blowout myself. The Chiefs managed their way, and I say managed very specifically because I feel like they kind of just eased their way through the game with Houston, found their way, got a lot of help from the Stripes. I'm not going to say anything else about that, James. But a 23-14 win over Houston. And the Bills defeated the Ravens in what might have been one of the games of the playoffs so far, 27-25.
It was.
Any couple words on those games, James, before we move on really quick?
I'm going with Eagles and Chiefs for the Super Bowl. I do think that, there was a little bit of shaky calls for the Chiefs. Obviously, everybody's saying that. But also when you sack their quarterback 8 times, I don't see the refs having a whole lot of hell to do with that.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say that. You're right. Never complain about the refs. But if the Eagles and Chiefs get in there, it's a Kelsey Bowl once again. You got to love it. Jason Kelsey's former team, obviously, and the Chiefs. I think that would be a great matchup overall. Topic number 5, 9 games last night in the NHL, 8 games tonight. So, James, I'm going to save that one for next segment. And then topic number 6, just a little bit of CFL news for everybody. I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but former Edmonton Elks defensive back Lucius Purifoy has been suspended 2 games for violating the CFL's drug policy after testing positive for the banned substance amphetamine. Purifoy was recently actually released from Edmonton, so he's actually currently a free agent. So we'll see if a team's going to take a chance on him, given that he's going to miss the first 2 games of the season. And the other news that actually just came out right before the show started, the BC Lions announced that Canadian linebacker Bo Lacombo has retired from professional football. He's had a great 10-year career, Canadian linebacker, very athletic, a big hitter, good player. So anyways, James, I just got the word in my ear. We should probably hit a break. Thank you, Jordan. Jordan's going to keep me on track today, James, because here's the thing. You and I, James, we've done about, 50, 60 podcasts together. We could probably talk for an hour straight and then be like, oh, it's been an hour. So we need to focus. We need to be responsible adults on this podcast, James, on this show here. So we're going to hit a break, James. And when we come back, we're going to dive into more of that NHL talk that I know me and James want to get into. We'll go kind of around the divisions and we'll talk about some surprises this season. And then we're going to pick our winners, James. So start thinking about tonight's games and who you think might win. And we'll be right back after this break.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, we're back. And as you can see, original studio for the Rod Pedersen Show. We have brought it back. We're in the original desk. Obviously, there's not as much stuff on the desk as when Rod was here last time, but there has been some squatters in this studio since we've left. I'm producer Clark. For those checking in, I have a couple of questions. Let's actually flash the text line, if you guys don't mind, in the back there, as we welcome in your messages on the official Rod Pedersen Show text line. That's 902-518-3033. Scott Spilchin is checking in. Scott's from Moose Jaw. He says, "Where's Rod and Moose?" Rod's traveling from Chicago to Florida, and Darren is broadcasting a curling event. So they are both unavailable, and rather than take the show off today, they thought, hey, let's put producer Clark in the chair. For those who don't know, I might be putting a face to a name here because Rod talks to me every day on the show, but I haven't actually made a camera appearance for a couple of years, actually. So here I am. I do a lot of hosting for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, so I feel fairly comfortable in front of a camera and a microphone. So that's good. And you know what? I've been doing the show behind the scenes now for about almost 6 years, from day one pretty much of this show. So I have a feeling I know the format decently well. However, James, if we can bring our buddy James Roberts back in from Offside Hockey Talk. James, I was just talking to Jordan in the break, and I was like, man, it is wild how fast that first segment flies by when you're trying to get through some stuff there. So it's like a snap, exactly. So with that in mind, really quickly, I'm just going to actually come back into the studio here. I shouldn't have brought James back in yet, but it's okay. I'm just going to mention the daily poll brought to you by EMJ Marketing. Let's throw that up on the screen. The daily poll today is, are the LA Dodgers, and then the poll question answers are, good for baseball or bad for baseball? So that now we'll bring James back in. James, really quick, are the LA Dodgers good for baseball or bad for baseball? And I'm going to even maybe extend that to sports in general. The way that they're operating. Do you think it's good?
No, I don't. Might as well just award them the trophy now. The World Series is theirs. It's basically theirs to lose, and we haven't even gotten to spring training yet. So that's what I keep seeing everywhere. They keep getting all the players the Blue Jays reportedly want. So maybe the Blue Jays are just the boosters to get these guys paid the number they're looking for.
Yeah, the leverage machine is pretty wild these days, it seems. They're using a lot of leverage. But we'll move on because this segment, I really wanted to dive into some hockey talk with you, James, because I haven't talked to you in a little while. So I want to go division by division. We'll start with the Metro in the East and kind of just go with a couple of the top headlines. And I think if we can rattle this off, we can get through everything in one segment. So let's see what we can do here. We'll start with the Metro. Washington dominating the division. The usual suspects of the last couple of years, Carolina and New Jersey, kind of right behind them. Shockingly bad, the New York Rangers. Really surprised with how their season has gone. Pittsburgh is possibly entering a blow-up explosion. Of those topics there, James, what kind of stands out to you the most?
Well, it's the New York Rangers, and it's simple what happened there. That memo, that email that got leaked out about Trouba, that really, I think, ungalvanized that room. However you want to put it, those guys were close, and they looked like a machine with Igor Shesterkin in the back. And that team was rolling, a team that was going to be another Stanley Cup favorite. Now looks like it's disjointed, doesn't look like there's any cohesion within that room. You're listening to stories come out of there. Obviously, the players feel disrespected there, especially the way the Trouba thing was handled. And I think for everyone, it's a shock to see them where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, that's a great point. This all started before the season started when Jacob Trouba was basically traded, I believe, to Detroit, and then they pulled it at the last minute. And he said, never mind, I'm not doing it. And I think, like you said, I think that really changed everything. And now he's obviously in Anaheim, and the whole shifting of the league has changed accordingly. So that's a really good point. Does Pittsburgh possibly blowing it up surprise you at all? I think we kind of saw some of this coming, but the latest report that I saw, I think was yesterday, is that Kyle Dubas is very ready to move on and also retain salary on some of his bigger names. Erik Karlsson was the name that popped out, and I think that's probably the more obvious name, but is it time, do you think, that Kyle Dubas maybe pulls some triggers and makes some stuff happen for Pittsburgh?
Definitely. Make all the moves you can. Save your job, Kyle. Save it, because you're going to have to. Obviously, what you've done to try to augment this team to extend that aging core did not work. You now need to make deals to free up cap space for one side of things. But if you're taking on deals, obviously they're probably going to be expiring or 1 or 2-1. So when you get back to contending again, you're not dealing with those albatrosses hanging over you, but you're collecting probably younger talent. You're collecting draft picks. You're not going to be bringing in a ton of NHL ready guys. So yeah, it's time. It's time for Pittsburgh to finally say, hey, the Letang, Malkin, Crosby, era is done. And I guess you can extend that to now Erik Karlsson just with the contract he has.
Yeah, for sure. Just a quick comment here from Patrolman Pete. And James, are you a Seinfeld fan?
I grew up watching it, but not by my own admission.
Okay, you might know this reference, but Patrolman Pete from Winnipeg says this kind of reminds me of when Kramer had the old Merv Griffin show studio set. So basically, he like inherited the set for the Merv Griffin show, and he like had it in his apartment. And that's kind of what this show studio looks like right now, just like the old like throwback, just basically everything thrown in a room, stuff's broken, stolen, not set up right. Anyways, thanks Patrolman Pete for checking in. Paul Jefferson brings up an interesting point. Is Lou Lamoriello in trouble on the island? I think me and James could probably go way too long on that topic, so I'm gonna hold us back. I'm gonna hold us back. James is ready to go into the big scrum and throw a couple of punches on that one, but I'm gonna hold him back. I'm gonna grab him by the shoulders and keep him in, because we're moving on to the Atlantic. The Maple Leafs showing signs of being maybe a different squad under Craig Berube. James, it feels different this year. It feels different. I don't know. Does it feel different to you? I'm gonna give you a couple minutes, because obviously you and I are Leaf fans. We can talk about this, but take a couple minutes. Give me your Leafs rundown.
It is different. Craig Berube not only preaches accountability, but also is trying to work with players and not just throw them under the bus after bad games or bad spells. William Nylander comes to mind right away, talking about the communication. He's like, I'm not trying to control him or do different things. I'm trying to work with him and understand him. Basically working with him on all things that he wants to do with William Nylander. But this team completely is different. I mean, the goaltending to me is the big factor when Stolarz is healthy. This team has two bona fide goaltenders that you don't feel scared about. And Clark, you know me, I've said this 1,000 times. You need the big save from the goaltender. And they're getting that this year at key moments to keep them in the game. You look at the Montreal Canadian game, that one comes to mind right away. If Wool lets one or two more in, then the Leafs are out of that game. It's probably a different story than it was. But he held them in there after the 3-0, and the Leafs win that game. But it's just different the way they're playing, too. They're sticking up for each other. They're playing a little bit more physical as well. Guys like Pacioretty, used to be a star in this league, but understand, hey, if I want to be in this lineup, I got to throw hits. I got to play a different breed of hockey. Guys like Tanev and Oliver Ekman-Larsson adding a little bit more jam on the back end. I love it. I think we need one more guy back there. And then down the center hole, JT is looking good this season, obviously hurt right now. But this team is different. I just don't even know how to say how it is, but just look at the scoreboard, look at the way they play. They're first in the Atlantic. They stretch their lead. Hopefully the Panthers lose tonight, and the Leafs can just maybe play somebody different outside of a Boston and a Tampa for once.
Yeah, but I saw the latest rumor, James, that it might be the Columbus Blue Jackets, and you know how much that terrifies me after what happened in the bubble season. But it's a different era altogether. So like you said, the Jotany Wolars show is a little bit different than the Freddie Andersons of years gone by, the Peter Mrazek's of years gone by. It feels a little bit different. The Samsonovs, the James Reimers. We'll leave it there. But obviously the other topics are the headlines, I guess, and I'm just going to breeze over these and we'll move on to the Central here. But Florida and Tampa, predictably pretty good again this year. Tampa Bay's maybe come up a little bit. They started off a little, people maybe weren't fully sure, but they're playing pretty solid right now. I think the biggest surprise is that Boston right now is under Ottawa in the standings. Like, that just seems so weird. Good for Ottawa. They got hot there for a stretch, and then Montreal is right there too in the conversation. So the Atlantic Division, slowly but surely turning into probably one of the best divisions in hockey, which is really interesting timing for the Leafs right now.
It is. I mean, it doesn't seem like the Leafs ever get a fair shake when this stuff happens. There's never just a weak team for them to play, but you look at it the way it is right now, and obviously, Columbus could be the team we play. It could be Montreal. It could be Ottawa. Heck, it could be Boston again. But with Boston, how many years have we said, when is this team going to fall off? The Bergerons, the Krejcis, the Charas, everybody leaves, and we say this is going to be the year, and they keep it together. Well, they look pretty darn disjointed this year. You look at the Rangers and say the same thing. So I'm thinking the Boston way may be out the door now with the new contracts coming in for guys. And I look at that team and say, they're not the team of old. They don't have Allmark and Swayman back there. So I think Boston may actually not make the playoffs. And I said that in the season predictor show for our show, that, hey, the Boston Bruins may finally fall off the map.
There you go. Could be the time. Let's move on to the Central Division now. Winnipeg, Minnesota. They've been running the show there for most of the season. And I'm going to say a little bit surprisingly, I don't think I was really expecting Winnipeg to be as good as they are. I thought they would be solid, but they've shown some big signs of improvement this year. Minnesota, given everything they've been going through the last couple of years with their contract scenarios, unbelievable this season. And when I expected Dallas and Colorado to lead the way, Dallas is now in third. Colorado is technically fighting for a wild card spot right now. So I don't anticipate that will last, especially after Colorado shored up their goaltending with Mackenzie Blackwood. But is Nashville the biggest shocker out of all of this, though, in the Central Division with how poor they've been this season? Is that the shocker, or are you looking more at the top for some good surprises?
I mean, good surprises are always good, but you always look at teams that make so many moves and augment their lineup so much. And I don't know, I was a little sour that, Nashville took Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Shen and took them away from the Leafs there, because I thought that there was something the Leafs could build with those two guys. So when they went over to Nashville on their tickets, it kind of pissed me off, to be honest. But you look at them now and you're like, okay, so you added again Stamkos, Marcia Show, and it's just not working. It's not clicking. So, and then you got Barry Trotz saying, hey, maybe we just have to do a fire sale. Well, what are you going to fire off? Who are you trading? You getting rid of Ryan O'Reilly? Well, he doesn't want to leave. And who are you getting rid of? Stamkos, but he just signed into a big ticket. So it's kind of, you're stuck with the pills that you took, and you see how it all shakes out. But for me, Nashville was the big surprise, because I thought with those additions, they would have actually taken a step and been a very, very formidable force, but they're not.
Yeah, the biggest fish in the offseason, James, and look where they are. And let's all hope that the Los Angeles Dodgers are the same way. They won't be, but that'd be fun for everyone else outside of LA, anyways.
Yes.
In the Pacific, yeah, we're hitting our break window, so we'll quickly go through the Pacific here. Unsurprisingly, Vegas and Edmonton lead the way. LA's not far behind. I think the surprise for me is maybe the Flames' emergence, when I thought they would be totally rebuilding, and the Canucks maybe struggling. And not only that, but they have more drama than Real Housewives of Vancouver, it seems. Can you just maybe touch on that really quick? I think the Flames-Canucks relationship right now is what I'm most interested in the Pacific.
Well, the Flames, I mean, it's a story of a team that's told that they can't or they won't be this team. And they basically said, hey, no, we're going to do this. We're going to be in a playoff spot. We're going to work hard, and we're going to show what we have in this room can get it done. And hopefully we get some additions to it as well. They're all proud players. Obviously, seen a lot of guys traded off that team. So Calgary for sure looked in the mirror and said, hey, we're not going to be the laughing stock. We're going to show you. And then you look at Vancouver. It's just another team where it's internally just blowing up in there. The locker room's not good. I'm sure you got guys who side with JT Miller, guys who side with Pedersen. He's getting into it with Tocchet. It just doesn't bode well. We've seen it here in Toronto many times where the media, once they get a hold of a story like that, it just is hard to come to work every day. It's a dark cloud that hangs over you, and it becomes a problem, seeps into your play, seeps into the team, and then you have to do something, which it looks like they almost did, but that trade got scuttled. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Vancouver in a world of hurt right now, Clark.
Yeah, it's that was one I didn't have on my bingo card this year. I don't think was Vancouver being as dramatically wild as they are. And you know what? Maybe I should text my buddy Jeremy Corrigan. Shout out to Jeremy and see how he's doing.
Yes.
It's a wild time right now to be a Vancouver Canucks fan. We have like 90 seconds, James. So what we're going to do to end off this segment and say goodbye to you is pick the winners of tonight's game. So it's going to be, we don't need much analysis. Rod always says this: don't give me any analysis. Just tell me who you think is going to win. So this is how we're going to do it. Tampa at Montreal. Who you got?
Montreal.
Okay, I'll take Tampa. Good. Ottawa at New York. The Rangers.
Ottawa.
You going Ottawa? Okay, I'll go with the Rangers just to be a little bit different there. Detroit at Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Philly. I'll go Detroit. I think Detroit's having an interesting run right now. So I'll go Detroit. San Jose at Nashville.
Just because I smack talked them, Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go San Jose just to keep it so that we're different on every single pick so far. Carolina at Dallas. This is a good one.
I'm going to say Dallas.
Okay, I'll go with Carolina. Perfect. And then Washington at Edmonton. This is another really good one.
I'm going to say Washington. McDavid scores
on
2.
The road. Not McDavid.
Ovechkin scores 2.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'll go with Edmonton just because they're at home. And again, we're being different, James. We're on a roll here. Buffalo at Vancouver. This is an interesting one.
I'm going to say Vancouver just so they can have something to talk about that's good.
Yeah, I'm actually going to also take Vancouver. I don't think I can pick Buffalo on the road on this one. And then Florida at Anaheim.
We've got to take Anaheim. You don't want Florida creeping up on the Leafs.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take Florida then. Perfect. Okay, well, James, you're the best, and I appreciate you joining me here. I'm going to let you go, get back to work. I know you're selling some cars today, so I want to let you get back to that because you're a busy man. And I appreciate you spending 45 minutes with you here this morning, and hopefully we can get another chance to chat again soon.
We will, buddy. I appreciate it, buddy, and enjoy the show.
Thank you. That's James Roberts, my good buddy from out in the Maritimes with Offside Hockey Talk. Go check out his podcast. Just search Offside Hockey over on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere else really that you find stuff. Check him out. He's fantastic. And he has been a great buddy of mine for a while now, and he always picks up the phone. That was the biggest thing today, is he picked up the phone. So thank you, James. Appreciate it. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the SJHL Commissioner, Kyle McIntyre, will join us. We'll break down some junior hockey talk for you. We'll see you after the break.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact The Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
I just, you know what? It's, the commercial break's over. I mean, again, we haven't been in the studio for about 3 years, so we got construction people moving in and out of here, taking stuff out of here. Oh my gosh, it's just a mess. It's a disaster. You know who's not a disaster is our next guest. We'll bring him in. That's a great segue. We're going to bring him in now. SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre wearing the beautiful Prairie Proud
Sorry, guys, I have
hoodie.
no volume here.
Oh, he can't hear me. That's why he wasn't laughing at my joke. Well, let me know if Kyle can hear me. Give him a thumbs up, Kyle, when that works out. Kyle McIntyre, of course, commissioner of the SJHL for the last couple of years. And as I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of work in my day job with the SJHL, host a couple of shows there. So we like to keep the SJHL top of mind and talk junior hockey as much as we possibly can. And there's a lot going on in the SJHL actually right now and across junior hockey, of course. And when Kyle joins us, we'll kind of get into some of the bigger topics in junior hockey, not just the league itself and the games themselves, but some of the bigger topics going on across junior hockey, because there is quite a few. But just as we're waiting, we'll get into a bit of a sports update. And as I mentioned, there was 9 games in the NHL last night. So let's have a look now at some of the scores from last night's action. The Bruins beat the Sharks 6-3. And as I mentioned there, Boston trying to figure out what they're doing. The Minnesota Wild got a 3-1 win over Colorado. And again, Minnesota's having such a great season. Colorado is kind of middling right now, which is odd to say. The Seattle Kraken took a 6-4 victory over Buffalo. The St. Louis Blues got a shootout win over Vegas in Vegas, a 5-4 shootout win. The Maple Leafs held on to a 5-3 lead at the end of the game with an empty netter from Mitch Marner. The Islanders got a 3-1 win over Columbus. The Carolina Hurricanes had a 4-3 win with Rod Pedersen in the building in Chicago. The Hurricanes beat the Blackhawks 4-3. The Jets lost to the Utah Hockey Club, who are having a really cool season. I really like seeing what's going on in Utah. And it bodes well, I think, honestly, for the league if a team like Utah can come in and have the kind of season that they're having right now. They got a 5-2 win over the Jets. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins. Rebuild be damned. They got a 5-1 win over the LA Kings last night. So they had a big game there. Obviously. So I think how we're going to end up working this segment is I'll probably make this a shorter segment, unless we can get them right now, but we'll probably make... Okay, so what we're going to do, Jordan and guys in the back, is we're going to make this the short segment, and we'll bring Kyle in for the last segment of the hour, just so that we can make sure we give Kyle enough time, because I don't want to rush Kyle. And this segment seems to be flying by already. So we'll read a couple comments, and I think we're going to hit a break. Ryan McCarthy says, "Good morning, Clark, Rod Squad," or should I say Clark's Sparks? I think we can workshop that a little bit, Ryan. I do like the idea of my viewers here on the show getting a nickname, but I think Clark's Sparks can be improved upon. Feel free to throw your suggestions in the comment section. I'm also asking, I mentioned earlier in the show, I went to a Sum 41 concert this weekend, which for me was pretty big in my impressionable youth. So I'm wondering right now, what has your favorite concert been? So please, in the Facebook comments or in the YouTube comments, or actually, Rolf, if you can hit the text line, we'll get some text line action going on. Send in your favorite concert or one that you even would want to go to, maybe a bucket list concert. Let me know which one you've been to. Tell me a little story about it if you can as well. My story was that I lifted about 22 people up for crowd surfing over the course of the night. It was a very good workout. We're going to hit a break. So when we come back, we're going to be joined by SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre. So stay tuned until after this break.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, perfect. Obviously, producer Clark here filling in for Rod here in the old studio set, and I don't want to waste any time because we have a hard 6.5 minutes here for our next guest, and he was wearing that beautiful Prairie Proud merch when we saw him last, so let's bring him back in here. Commissioner Kyle McIntyre of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Kyle, I want to get right to it here because I did say we only have about 6 minutes, so the SJHL trade deadline is behind us now. I think it was fairly active this year when you consider we didn't really think there might be that much movement. The league is looking strong right now, though, top to bottom. Can you talk about the league and maybe even at the top, Melfort and Flin Flon having such huge winning streaks lately? How cool has that been?
Yeah, you know what? The one thing I'd say about the league, Clark, the hockey is fast, it's exciting, it's competitive. There's lots of competitive balance and parity. And attendance generally is up across the league over 10%, with significant increases in both Yorkton and Nipawin. Like Yorkton is having an outstanding year both on and off the ice. They're averaging about 1,287 fans a game. Their attendance is probably up about 85% from last year. The next greatest increase would be in Nipawin. They're up about 40%. So both those teams have really done a good job marketing their teams and engaging the community. The players do lots of outreach, and both have pretty exciting teams, albeit Nipawin's really hasn't translated into a bunch of wins. But Yorkton certainly is in the top four. And of course, when you look at our top four, leading the pack are the repeating Cantera Seeds Cup champion Melfort Mustangs, and they are solid from top to bottom. There are no signs of weakness. They have a lot of depth. They probably have the best back end in junior A hockey, and they have a great goaltending duel. And of course, Flin Flon, led by Cole McQuaig and the legendary Mike Reagan. Certainly they got off to a slow start this year. They got some chemistry. They made some moves. They brought in Liam Hunks at the deadline and added a goalie and Matthew Keeper, and they got a really good team. And of course, Weyburn and Yorkton both have something to say about that, being in the top four. But again, when you look at probably 3 to 10, Clark, lots of parity, and anyone can win at any given night.
It's unbelievable, really. We talk about it on a weekly basis here on all of our broadcasts. And Flin Flon hasn't lost a game in regulation in 21 games. Melfort just had a 17-game win streak that was snapped about a week and a half ago. So crazy stuff going on. And Kyle, I guess one of the big questions I get from fans or people who are interested in junior hockey across the country, with all the things that are going on, and we don't need to get into all that right now, but just the strength of the league. You kind of mentioned it. It seems like some teams have really bounced back, and some teams are doing quite well right now, attendance-wise. Can you touch on the strength of the league overall?
I would say generally, you know what, it's a league that has over 60 years of history. And of course, a lot of it is community operated. It's operated on the backs of volunteers, lots of passion and volunteers. The relationship between the teams and the community is symbiotic. A lot of our players, it's their first time away from home. They're kind of a big deal in a market. They're role models for both boys and girls. They do a lot of outreach in schools and old folks' homes in the community and with minor hockey. And really, we've always had a lot of competitive balance. And in the league, it's a 200-foot game. Players play fast. They play physical. There's lots of goals. There's lots of skill. There's lots of traditional rivalries amongst some of the teams that have been around between 40 and 60 years. So I would say generally the league is in a really good place. We're doing a pilot this year with called the Western Canadian Development Model. We're doing that with both Alberta and Manitoba, who have been very good partners. We're following the Western Hockey League rules. As a developmental league, we develop broadcasters and officials and coaches and players. And really this year, moving to a common set of rules, it's been good for everybody. It's great for our attendance. It's great for our offense. And it's been really great for our officials.
Absolutely. A little over 2 minutes here, Kyle. So I think the one question I'm probably going to end off here with is we saw this community of Assiniboia step up so huge just around the Christmas time as Weyburn was displaced out of their arena. They got to go to Assiniboia. They filled up with billets in like an hour. It was pretty crazy. It was a great showing. But that has brought up with some fans expansion. Now, Kyle, I've talked to you a couple of times about this behind the scenes, and we don't have to get into too many details. So in about 2 minutes or less here, is there a potential for league expansion maybe in the next few years? I'm not talking next year, but in the next few years. Could we see some markets jump up with some heavy interest?
Well, you know, Clark, there's always interest in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We have a number of communities that would like to join the league. Right now we have 12 solvent, steady, reliable franchises. So we're not really looking at changing that. There's no one really in jeopardy right now. We do have some communities that are in, you know, some of the larger communities in Saskatchewan that are growing rapidly with lots of population change, would be eager to come into the league. Certainly, I wouldn't mind getting into one of those larger communities, especially around Saskatoon or Regina. But there's always a fear that you're going to lessen the recruiting pool. If you're adding teams, you're going to dilute it a little bit. And certainly we don't want to do that. But the thing about the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, it's been around for 60 years. Again, lots of passion for in communities for local franchises, and the relationship between the communities and the teams really goes a long way back. And when we look at Yorkton, for example, last year they had a little bit of a crisis. I think it was a bit of a wake up call, and certainly Yorkton being the strong hockey community and the strong community it is, people really stepped up and responded positively, and we've seen an increase in attendance like 80%. So, I mean, that tells you that people have a long-term commitment to the league and to their franchises. So the franchises we have are stable. We're not looking at adding any teams. We don't want to change the competitive balance or the parity that we have in the league.
Yeah, perfect answer, Kyle. We'll have to let you go. We'll do this again sometime, but appreciate your time today.
Okay, Clark. Take care.
All right, we'll be right back for hour 2 of the Rod Pedersen Show here. Lots to talk about. Nick Lewis, Mike Wilner. See you after the break.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Let's just imagine that Steve Armitage is hosting the broadcast tonight. How would that go, Mike?
Oh, thanks, Mark. It's going to be a great series as the Calgary Flames, a fabulous city, up against Edmonton. Edmonton! Germs, disease, sweatpants with good shoes.
Don't bring the hate on Rod. This is all on this end, folks. Be mad at this guy.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, welcome back inside the Rod Pedersen Show for Hour 2. I am producer Clark. For those who might not realize what I look like, because I haven't been on camera on this show in a couple years, but I'm slowly reintegrating myself with all the viewers. I'm seeing a lot of names I'm familiar with, so that's great to see. We're talking concerts today. I just went to a Sum 41 concert over the weekend, so we're talking favorite concerts you've recently been to that were awesome, and so much more. We're going to bring them in right now because, I mean, when a Hall of Famer's in the studio. Now, Nick, as you can see, this studio hasn't been touched since you were probably in it last. This is the old original Rod Pedersen Show studio, and it's been squatted in. There's been homeless people. There's a mattress behind me somewhere. There's boxes everywhere.
The shattered glass right there.
Shattered glass.
That's awesome.
Obviously, Nick Lewis needs no introduction. CFL Hall of Famer.
Indeed.
Just recently did a stint coaching with the Calgary Stampeders. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in your appearance here, Nick. But welcome in. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we're talking concerts. I can only imagine you've seen your fair share of concerts over the years, especially living in Calgary all those years and down in Texas and everywhere else that you've been. Can you name a couple, like just some of the best concerts you've been to, just top to bottom?
I think the best concert I've ever been to in Minnesota, Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks, wow, yeah.
Drove down there, took the kids to Great Wolf Lodge and to Mall of America, and then me and the wife got to enjoy Garth Brooks one night. Found out when we were there the next night he had Darius Rucker there opening up. But I wish we could have stayed for both nights. But,
Who'd you see? Who was the opener for you?
I don't even remember.
I don't even
remember.
Darius Rucker.
It might have just been Garth. We just showed up for Garth. It
Fair
was
enough.
I mean, they didn't need seats in there.
Yeah.
Nobody sat down. No, from the time he stepped on stage, it was an amazing concert. But yeah, the Garth was by far my favorite concert that I've been to. But, you know, being at Stampede, living across the street from Stampede last year.
Sure.
Being able to just open up my window or get out on the balcony and just watch.
Yeah.
I watched Shabuzi.
Oh, that would have been
balcony.
good. Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, Flow Rider and Busta Rhymes was good. So, no, have a fair share.
Actually, funny you say that. One of our viewers, Zach Nelson, who you've probably met at some point in your career, he said, my favorite concert was Flow Rider last year at Cowboys. The cool part of Flow Rider concert is he invites people up on stage and gets them to sing some of his songs with him. So that's pretty cool. Jelly Roll's coming to Regina in the spring. So that should be pretty cool.
But Flow Rider, I think he was part of the kickoff show. One early show at Stampede last year, had so much fun, came back.
Oh, yeah.
Macklemore was there this year. Macklemore put on a great concert as well. So, hey, Cowboys, man, they do a great job of putting on these shows.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely. I'm heading to Calgary in a couple of weeks. We're going to when the Leafs are in town. We're going to the Leafs Flames game. Me and my nephew. This is a fun story. Last year we did this too. We drove up. Obviously, it was I think it was the same time frame. It was a Tuesday.
Yep.
So we drove up Tuesday morning. Went out for dinner and then went to the game, had a few drinks, went back to the hotel, left in the morning. This year, we're like, hey, do you want to save 16 hours of driving and fly? So we're flying on Tuesday afternoon to the game, and then right after the game, going to the airport, flying back. We're not even staying overnight. So
nice.
That's going to be fun. John from Edmonton's checking in, says, what's with the RP show today? It looks different. Yes, I'm not Rod. John in Edmonton. You've been around long enough, John in Edmonton, that you know I'm producer Clark. I'm usually not on camera, so this is different for you. But this is the old set, and Nick used to be a frequented guest on this set back in the day.
Yes, indeed.
Back when
and hosted one time.
Absolutely, you sure did. That was actually a really fun show. Thinking back to that. But yeah, no, we have a lot to get into today. Let's hit the quick six show horn. And we'll get into the quick six topics of the day here. Topic number one, Nick, I'm assuming you were all over the college football playoffs this year.
Yep.
Guessing. Will Howard was named offensive MVP, passing for 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, 57 yards on the ground. And Quinshon Judkins found the end zone 3 times to lead Ohio State past Notre Dame 34-23. Did you see that one come in? I mean, it was I think they were ranked, 7 and 8th, I think, the two teams?
Yeah, Notre Dame was 7, Ohio State was 8.
Yeah, and there was a lot of hype around Notre Dame, and a lot of people were very excited because they haven't been there in a while. But Ohio State took care of business. What were your thoughts on the college football playoffs overall?
You know, early there was a lot of blowouts that first week.
Yeah.
You had the blowouts. I still think Ohio State had the toughest road, so they really proved that they were the best team going through Oregon, going through Tennessee, and then Texas. You know, I'm a big Longhorn fan, would like to see them overcome it, but they didn't. But, you know, just kind of setting the path. Notre Dame really led on their defense. Didn't know if they would be able to score enough points to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And, if you're going to give up the rushing yards that they gave up, it's going to be very hard to beat them with the receivers talent that Ohio State has.
Yeah, and I just one thing that I noted earlier on in the show in hour one was just the marketing machine. And I know you know this. You're very involved in the marketing machine that is NIL and everything going on in college football right now. But the amount of celebrity commercials that I saw over the last, I'm going to say, month and a bit, just for the college football playoffs alone, I'm like, okay, every league in the nation needs to take note of this and do the same thing or copycat
100%.
Because the NHL, they need to get celebrities more involved. Like I saw the commercial for Notre Dame being involved in the national championship with Shane Gillis, the comedian, and he's in a church praying to God that his team can come through on this one. And then some guy shows up behind him and is like, "Did you even go to Notre Dame?" He's like, "No." So, you know, stuff like that is stuff that the younger generation needs to see more of in order to get more engagement involved in the leagues that they like. And I think college football just crushed it, especially coming out with their video game again this year.
100%.
My gosh, I'm sure that had a huge impact.
Outsold everything.
Yeah, I have it.
The return, I do too.
Yeah.
Right, and it's good to see people relate to different colleges and, you know, from the different events that they have put on through the year. Pat McAfee's done a great job with the show before. I mean, Nick Saban was great, you know, in the pre-show for a lot of the college football games this year. So I just think they do a great job of relating it to the younger generation. And, not the older generation doesn't always understand or know, but it's got to go on.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to brave through some things to know that it's going to be in a good place. And that's where you have to get to.
Who's your number one pick in the NFL draft as of today?
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. Because there's a lot of talk about a few different guys, but obviously with like the Shadur Sanders stuff coming up and everybody like that, there's some people talking. But yeah, Cam Ward, I think that's a good call for that.
I think Shador is a great quarterback. There's just things that give me hesitation about him.
Sure.
He stands in the pocket a while to let things happen. Doesn't look like he reads as fluid, going left to right. It's more, I got some good athletes on the outside. They're going to work. I got to give them a chance to get open. I can move in the pocket maneuver to give them a chance. NFL don't work like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's faster. It's like the best player on every team.
Yeah.
So when you look at the talent gap and you see if he stands back there, he's going to get hurt by not getting the ball out. So hopefully he gets a good coach that allows him to do some things early to get 1-2 read throws, and it's not long progression stuff to get the ball out. But I do think that he has the top end that over time he could be really good.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Are you a baseball fan at all, Nick?
I watch everything in the playoffs. If you put some playoffs to it, I don't care what it is, I'll watch it.
Absolutely. So obviously the Dodgers have been a big topic of discussion in the offseason.
New pitcher, huh?
Oh my God. Well, they have like 6 new pitchers. That's the crazy part. So let's throw up the text line really quick in the back there, Rolf. We want to hear your thoughts on this poll question, but we'll get the text line up first, 902-518-3033. Send us a text now. Let us know what you're thinking. But the poll question today, Nick, is are the Los Angeles Dodgers, and then the answers are good for baseball or bad for baseball. Now, as a businessman of your ilk in the sports world, you've been through both as a player, coach. You've done some managing. You've done everything. You're about to do more. I have a funny feeling.
Yes.
But do you think the way that the Dodgers are operating, basically saying the rules don't apply to us, is that good for baseball or sports in general, or do you think there's maybe some red flags here?
I mean, you got to think the money's going out. They're paying these luxury taxes and they're doing everything else that's going back to the league.
Right.
That's helping support the other teams. And I just remember like in the early 2000s and the 90s, how the New York Yankees were paying like so much of the salary for 12 teams.
Yeah.
You pay them enough to stay in the league so that you can continue to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Dodgers have went and done the same thing. And it doesn't always lead to championships. But you know that pitching is going to increase your opportunity to get there year after year.
Yep.
And if they're willing to spend it, I mean, hats off to you.
Right.
Because everybody in the league is going to benefit from it because of their spending habits and how much money they're going to have to pay back in the other things. And, I mean, I just want to sit down with the owner of the Dodgers who also owns Chelsea and also owns the
football
PWHL.
Club. Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, I mean, sit down with him because he's got a great business plan ahead if he's been able to spend money like this. And they spend $1.3 billion in Chelsea in the first 12 months.
Yeah.
And now he's
pretty
spending in
much
baseball,
the same with the Dodgers. Yeah,
same thing. And then what he's doing to support women's hockey, it's amazing. So hats off to him.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting. And the one thing I will say about it, as a baseball fan myself, I'm not going to call myself a purist, but as a baseball fan myself who likes to see things done the right way, it rubs me the wrong way a little bit. But then, like you said, when you look at it as all of that money that they're overspending gets funneled back to the other teams to make sure that they're okay. And there's some teams that, man, in the MLB, it's a weird league. Like, there's a couple teams that are scraping. They're scraping.
But look, the Padres spin, the Yankees spin, the Mets spin,
yeah.
the Red Sox spin. But the really cool thing about baseball that I find is when you look at some of those smaller market teams like the Orioles and the Royals and some of those teams that build through, hey, I'm going to sell you our best player, but I'm going to take back 6 minor leaguers that are going to be something, and we're going to have our shot.
Yeah.
And you're thinking we're going to have a 2-year window every 10 years to make a run for it, right?
Yeah.
And that's really cool to see them and how they really build structurally through getting all these minor leaguers and how they can transition from the big name stars to the other ones that come together and they gel as a team, and they make these runs, and then everybody gets behind them because it's the little guy versus the big guy.
Yeah,
right?
you love that. Every year there's somebody every year. This year, like you said, Baltimore was big. Kansas City had a run, like you said. And, it's teams like the Pirates, like you said. That's a perfect example. The Pirates, it seems like they're bad for 10 years, and then they'll just be like good all of a sudden.
100%.
Because they've done it right, but they've taken it slow. But it is kind of frustrating because you see all these teams not willing to spend the extra buck just because they want to save that money. And if more teams operated, maybe not quite like the Dodgers, but if more teams operated along those lines where you automatically go out and try to spend to win, it would really make for an interesting league. But just not every ownership group is like that across the major league, and not every ownership group across pro sports is like that. But the Dodgers are definitely setting the tempo, and I'm wondering if it's going to filter down to other leagues as well. If the NFL is going to see this and change up some of their rules. I know the NBA's got a soft salary cap as it is. They do their own thing. Hockey's kind of in an interesting spot right now where I think the salary cap is going up in the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens.
But you don't really own a team to make money.
Right.
You own a team to sell a team.
Yeah.
So if you look at where the Dodgers are financially, and this guy's going to make tenfold of what he's spending now on the sale of that team in the future, if he ever decides to do that, that's what the owners look at, right?
Yeah, sure.
If I can create a great program where we're going to have big name stars want to be a part of it, we're going to have a legacy of championships. Anybody that wants to come in and buy it, you're going to pay premium price for it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to uphold that, right? So it's not like anybody's just knocking down the doors of the Cleveland and, the Detroits and those cities that's saying, hey, we want to spend that type of money to do that. But it's great for the league, I think.
I think so, overall. A few more minutes. In segment 2 with Nick, he's coming back. We're going to go deep on the CFL. So if you have CFL questions, I have a bunch of my own that I've rattled off, and Nick's going to fire through all of them. But if you have any CFL questions, already got one, actually, that I know you're going to have a great time with, and I'm going to save it. But if you have any CFL questions, throw them in. We'll get to them after this commercial break. But make sure you send us a message on the text line, 902-518-3033. Send us a text. Nick, before we go to break, let's just touch on this one really quick. Obviously, the NFC, AFC championships are set. We got Washington going to Philadelphia in the NFC, and we got the Bills going to the Chiefs in the AFC. What were your thoughts on the weekend, quick, and then what are your thoughts for the upcoming championship weekend?
Wow, I was so surprised. It's like I figured Detroit's best chance has been in the Dome.
Yeah.
Right? Allows them to do their trick plays, do everything offensively without the hindrance of weather.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being totally opposite because then Washington came out very explosive. And
how about Jaden Daniels?
Me being a Cowboy fan and seeing Dan Quinn over the last couple of years, but also being a part of, being a part of some stuff with MVP, merging vets with players, and Dan Quinn's a part of that and what he's done in the military space and helping bring recognition to the mental illness there and just seeing his ascend. It's awesome because what a great dude, and he's leading that team, and you watch Jaden Daniels is a tremendous athlete. So really just seeing that. And do
you think they have a chance against the Eagles?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. I think that they have a great chance against the Eagles, and I believe they're probably a little bit more explosive than the Eagles. Jaden's a little bit better passer than Jalen Hurts, so I think they're going to have a chance. They just got to shut down Saquon.
Yeah,
which is very, very hard. Very hard, and we'll see what they do.
I'll tell you a funny story, and I know Rod doesn't love fantasy football talk on the show, but quickly, I'll just say I had Saquon and Derrick Henry in one of my teams this year.
Oh, wow.
Didn't win.
You play with a bunch of scrubs.
Didn't win. Well, they were my first 2 picks, but it didn't win. Not good. Bad performance. And then obviously on the other side, the Bills and the Chiefs, I mean, kind of seemed like destiny for those 2 teams to meet up in the AFC Championship. Do you foresee anything crazy happening in that game? I mean, it seems like Kansas City is kind of just managing their way to the championship again.
You remember when the Lakers won 3 in a row and the Bulls?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we know how to win games.
Right.
We just got to make it through the regular season. And to make it through a regular season at their record, the other 2 best records in the NFC lost, the Vikings and the Lions. But when you see it and you look at them, it's like they just do what it takes to win games. They don't care about putting up 40 points. They don't care about who's getting the ball, who's getting the recognition.
Right.
It's about going out there scoring 1 more point than the other team, and that's the way they've approached it. I think Buffalo's shown some vulnerabilities. They didn't look great to me versus Baltimore
barely snuck out of it.
If Baltimore doesn't turn the ball over, and they clearly had 200 more yards in offense than Buffalo. So
what were your thoughts on Lamar Jackson's quotes at the end of that game? Now, I thought that they were taken a little out of context when I heard what he said compared to what was written. Obviously, it's the same words, but you always know there's context. You of all people, Nick, know that there's context when you say things and when it's written. It's different. I thought he was just saying as a whole to the team, including himself. I thought he was taking onus on himself. Hold on to the ball. I'm getting tired of this. I'm leaving out some words. But what were your thoughts on him kind of, calling himself out, but also calling out the team a little bit?
Well, I think he was only talking to himself.
I kind of thought so too.
I think he was only talking to himself because he's such a prideful person. Yeah. But he takes the responsibility, and he knows that it's been multiple years that he's turned the ball over twice or more in these playoff games.
Right.
And it's frustrating for himself. But to see him bounce back the way he did was great. But you can't ever look at anybody else because it's not one play that wins or loses a game. It's a collection of plays. And he made a couple plays early in that game that didn't allow them to be in a position. They early on, they were in a position that they could have probably ran off with the game. And Buffalo would have had to do some. They play on their run game, right? They play a very methodical game. So if Kansas City comes out, scores a quick, it's going to force them to throw the ball, and that's not their strength. Their strength is Josh Allen running. Their strength is Cook running. Their strength is being able to ball control it and not put a lot of pressure on their defense.
And Kansas City is very good at getting Taylor Swift camera time, so that's also 100%. Very important. Get Travis Kelce the ball. We're going to hit a break, Nick, and when we come back, we're going to go all CFL the rest of the way here. So, again, send in your questions on YouTube, Facebook, over our text line. We're live on Game Plus TV, YouTube, Facebook. Make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast platform. We'll be right back after the break, and we got so much more for you, so stick around.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 90251 Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, I'm not Rod Pedersen. I actually had a funny comment here in the YouTube feed from our good friend Jeff from Calgary. Jeff, the Stamps fan. He says, Rod, what did you do to yourself? Looking good today. Well, thank you. I'm not Rod. Obviously, Rod's flying right now. He's in the air currently from Chicago back to Florida. He was watching the Blackhawks all weekend. So that's great. He had a great time by the looks of it. If you don't follow Rod on social media, what are you doing here, first of all? But second of all, go follow Rod on social media. He posted a bunch of pictures and stuff. Great weekend. By the looks of it, in Chicago. We got some questions coming in for Nick, which is great. Nick Lewis is with us, CFL Hall of Famer. So much more. I mean, I could probably talk for the whole segment on your biography, but we'll save that for the book, I think. 100%. Hey, Nick. But we got some stuff going on. What I'm going to do with this segment is basically go across the CFL and go team by team, and we'll do some burning questions from each team, either an off-season headline or a coaching change, because there's a few new coaches across the league. But first, before we do this, we have to get to this one, and I'm going to get it to you because I know Rod always misses the questions before the guest is done. So this is El Sasko, a.k.a. Fake Gainer on Twitter, who I'm sure, Nick, at some point, I'm sure you and Fake Gainer have had some sort of back and forth on Twitter.
I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
Blocked already.
So, just pull your mic in a little bit, Nick, I guess. He says, hey, Clark, question for Uncle Nick. Would he ever like to be a CFL on TSN panelist or at least have his own weekly podcast? Interesting topic of conversation, Nick. Entertaining AF. Wish you would have worn some green, but still a Nick fan. Signed, Vintage Sasko. So I guess where do you want to start there? Because you've been on TSN before.
Well, I've been on TSN. I had conversations a while back when I retired about joining the panel.
Yeah.
They wanted me to move to Toronto. That didn't work. So there's I just feel like it's too limited. But I am working. I did my own podcast. I have over 60 episodes out. I haven't done it in a couple years since I've been coaching, but I'm getting back into my podcast soon.
Yep.
But also with launching AO Sports, this year, finally, 5 years later. But understanding what we're doing and looking to build in those opportunities, I would like to do more around the CFL content, bringing in, more players to do more CFL content year round and things like that. So, coming soon.
Stay tuned.
And without me being signed by any CFL team, I can be, authentically me.
Yeah, you're going to let it fly here, which is 100%. Perfect. So let's bash every team. No. We're going to start with, we'll go west to east. We're going to start with BC. You had a cup of coffee in BC there for a little while. Is Buck Pierce ready for the head coaching role?
I think so. I think so. I really like Buck Pierce as a person. I like who he is as a coach. It seems like a lot of the guys respond well to him. I've seen players not take promotion or more money to stay in Winnipeg.
Yep.
I think a lot of that had to do with Buck Pierce, also Mike O'Shea.
Sure, of course, yeah.
But, I just think that just being around Buck, sparingly from time to time and talking to him, I think he's a great leader of men, and I think he'll do a good job.
Will the real Nathan Rourke please stand up with VA out the door?
Well, the only thing I look at is Buck Pierce offense. A lot of it stems from Paul Police, right?
Yep.
And a lot of those guys from the interior didn't always pan out in other places because it's such a unique offense. So he's going to have to put some pieces around it to execute on that level. And, they let go of stand back, and they're going to have a strong running game to really do what Winnipeg does or did with Buck Pierce at the helm. And I think Rourke's a little bit better thrower than Zach Claros, but we'll see what happens.
And some breaking news, I guess, from BC. I don't know if you heard, Bo Lacombo retired this morning. So there's a Canadian hole
tough.
there. That's a big hole for them. He's been there for a decade, which is crazy because I remember when he was a rookie. And I don't need to tell you because were you around? You wouldn't have been in BC when that happened.
Bo Lacombo went to Montreal for
He was Montreal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. Calgary. Let's move on to Calgary here. Speaking of Vernon Adams. How huge of an upgrade is Vernon Adams from last year's scenario? I'm not going to go individual because I think it was a team scenario. You were 100%. In the building, so you know probably better than me for sure, but better than most people. How huge of an upgrade is Vernon Adams going to be for that team?
Well, I'll say this: I think Jake Mayer is a great thrower of the football, right? Limited on his athletic ability, and I don't really think that things are more upgrades or not upgrades. It's more of what can you do to get wins.
Sure.
I felt like our team last year, when you don't have a mobile quarterback and then, our run game was good, but we didn't break enough tackles as receivers. So we didn't get those first downs from broken tackles and doing things. So I felt like it was kind of like bad mixture on both sides. But with Vernon Adams, that's going to be able to move around, extend plays a little bit longer, get some extra first downs with his legs on second down. But then teams can't play defensively the same way they were able to play Jake.
Yeah.
Right? Because with Jake, you wasn't ever afraid of him running so that you could drop 8, you can drop 9.
Sure.
And then there's minimal place to throw the ball on second down. Now teams are going to have to blitz. They're going to have to be vulnerable. They're going to have to use a spy that takes away from people in the secondary. And when you do things like that, when you have receivers like Jalen Philpott and Clark Barnes and Reggie Bagleton and everybody else over there, that it's going to be wide open. They're going to be really well. And I think they'll do a great job offensively next year because of the style of defense that you're going to have to play against them that's going to be different.
It'll change everything for sure. Now, you were, again, don't need to tell you who Nick Lewis is, but you were in Calgary for the golden days.
100%.
For what was it in Calgary for you?
11 years.
11 years. I was going to say 10, but 11 makes sense. Obviously, it kind of feels like a different vibe around town right now, just from an outsider's perspective, from Saskatchewan. But from an outsider's perspective, it kind of seems like, man, this isn't the Calgary I remember. And you were there last year, and I know you have a lot of friends in the organization still. So do they have the ability to turn this all around in one
100%.
season? Yeah.
100%.
Are the right people in place to turn this right around?
Yeah, and I mean, look at them. They went out and got Flo already. And in this league, you got to have a difference maker on the defense. And
sure.
I mean, I think Cam Judge is one of the best defensive players in this league. But he can only do so much from stopping the run, dropping back in the pass, doing everything. But having a game changer like Flo, that when they're making a game-winning drive and he gets a sack, when it's crucial and he makes a play, those types of players you need on your team to win those close games. And I felt like over the last 2 years, we didn't win close games. And we had a collection of good players, but really understanding like that great player, who's that next great player that can go out and change a game when the game's on the line. That's what Flo can do. And so I think Dave did a great job there getting Flo, and, it's just getting started. So he talks about being more active. I hope he doesn't go the Cowboys route and not be active. But he talked about being more active, so it'd be good to see him get more active in free agency and bring in a couple other guys.
Do you like how the CFL free agency is set up where it feels like we have to wait forever and then February comes along and all of a sudden it's free agency? Do you wish they would move it back closer to the end of the season, or do you like how it is right now? I've always wondered that from a player's perspective.
Well, I hate it from a standpoint that you have a lot of players that have bonuses in January.
Yeah.
And then you structure your bonuses, some have them in February. So a team doesn't have to make a decision on keeping you or not. So it's more of a financial thing for the players and inconsistency of who gets cut and when they get cut.
Sure, yeah.
Now, if they had to, if it's January 1st, I'm getting a check because I'm still on the roster. Now teams have to cut me in December.
Yeah.
Right? Teams have to put me in a position where now I can go out early and do this. But when it gets to January, February, it just becomes very hard.
Yeah.
But same time, without the proper coverage of the CFL, I don't believe it really matters from a focal standpoint because then you're going to go dark after January until the season because there's nobody to cover the CFL besides here at Rod Pedersen.
Hey, there you go. Cut that, please, guys. Okay, I just realized how much we don't have that much time left, and I don't want to cut you short. So let's rattle these ones off. Edmonton, I'm going to stick with just Mark Killam. You've worked with this guy. He's coached you, I'm sure, right?
20 years.
Yeah. So you've known this guy for a long time. Is he? How immediate will his impact be felt?
Well, I think it's going back to the old Edmonton ways. I mean, look at who they brought in: J.C. Sherritt, Jason Tucker, Ed Hervey, Killam, and Chris Morris. I mean, you can't get more Edmonton than that unless A.J.
Mark's from there, right?
Mobley comes in. Well, Mark's from Lethbridge, but he went to U of A.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Right, so I think they'll be competitive. Mark as a leader is a fiery guy, and I look forward to seeing him.
I already love his quotes. His quotes are great. I keep them up, Mark. We'll move on to Saskatchewan. Is Trevor Harris and Jake Meyer a winning combination at quarterback?
With the defense they have, creating turnovers.
Yep.
The biggest thing is you have guys that that can play a game where they don't have to force things. As long as the defense creates turnovers and Corey Mace is doing his job, I think it puts him in a good position to be successful.
Yeah.
Now, if you're giving up a bunch of points and you're always playing from behind, it's a hard thing to overcome with those two.
Quick word of advice from GOAT to another GOAT, yourself to Andrew Harris, who's taking over as running back coach. Jumping into the coaching game, any advice for Andrew Harris?
I mean, I think he got a little bit of taste when he was in Toronto, right, with Ole early there, and just being in a space where he allowed other people around him to shine just as much and being able to share his knowledge and do those things. I mean, to get into coaching, man, it's not hard. It's what you love. It's the passion for it.
Yeah.
Just being detailed. The hard part is all the busy work that keeps you there 12 hours a day.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. We'll move on. Winnipeg. When will Father Time catch up with these guys? Will he?
Well, I mean, you see last year they struggled coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
They had to get rid of some of their big-time players. Now they're trying to figure out what guys they're going to keep, what guys they're not going to keep. They still haven't signed an offensive coordinator, so it's really a struggle to see who they're going to be until that falls into place.
Sure.
And what kind of offense they're going to put out there. I mean, I'm a believer in Jordan Younger and what he's done defensively with the young group and how they grew week in and week out. So, I mean, and Zach's got to stop taking hits.
Yeah, well, sure, absolutely. Let's move on to Hamilton. Your old buddy, Bo Levi. Can he survive and thrive another season like he did last year?
The sky's the limit for Bo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody ever doubted Bo's ability to go out there and put up 5,000, 6,000 yards a season. Great arm strength, got great receivers around him.
Smart.
Tim White's awesome. The biggest thing is just turnovers at uncostly times and just taking some of those shots. And I compare Bo to Hank so much. Hank just ran a little bit more in certain situations, but super strong arms that can go out there and get it done. But then there's games where they go out, throw 3-4 picks, and it's like, where'd this come from?
You played with both, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Toronto, can they do it again? Can they come back and get back into the Grey Cup and obviously win one? A miracle season this year, kind of how it ended, but can they do it again?
Super talented team. With Murphy out there, they're always going to get great athletes.
Yep.
Some of the top athletes, some of the big name athletes that always want to come up here, love going to places like Toronto. So it'll be interesting to see. They just made a run at the right time. See how long the quarterback's out for and what direction they go in that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think they need a lot of things to fall in place. But Dinwiddie's great and in charge, and we'll see what happens. You never worry about Toronto until week like 12, 13, and then that's who they'll become, and then we'll see what happens.
Right. Two more for you. Ottawa and Montreal. We'll start with Ottawa. I'm going to give you the choice on this one. This is an option play. This is an RPO. I'm going to let you pick. Drew Brown, is he ready to win big in Ottawa? Or can Bob Dice win a Coach of the Year soon?
Drew Brown showed some good things. Early, he looked down a lot of things, but as he got comfortable, he was able to manufacture more. Great receiving core out there. I love Dominique Rhymes. They just brought in another. I think they signed Stan back, so that's going to help them in their run game. You seen Drew Brown struggled once they lost Armstead.
Sure,
right? That's when they really started to struggle. Defensively, it's going to be interesting to see what Will Fields does. I'm a fan of Will Fields, teammate of mine as well.
Yeah,
just won a Grey Cup as the co-D coordinator in Toronto, so interested to see what he brings to that staff.
Love that. Finally, Montreal. They're moving on from the Cody Fajardo era there. Davis Alexander, is he the real deal?
I know a lot of the guys in the locker room love Davis Alexander.
Yeah.
And I thought that even last year he gave them the best chance to win. I think Cody's such a great leader and great person that you have no choice but to root for him.
Yeah, wow.
But there are always the limitations, and I've always talked about it with that Cody has. And I think Davis has a little bit more upside and with the same ability to run and do things.
Sure.
But, you know, with Cody's ability, and some people used to think I dog Cody, but it was like, no, I just see his limitations. But I also always have talked about how great of a leader he is. And, you know, it showed 2 years ago that to lead that team to a Grey Cup. So defensively is where they hang their hat as well.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you got a great defense, you're always going to have a chance to win games. And Montreal with Thorpe has built an amazing defense over there that gets after people and makes plays.
Last one for you. This is from Taylor Sluka on YouTube, and I saved it for last for a reason. We talked about Montreal. You were there. When you were there, Eugene Lewis was there.
Yeah.
Now he's obviously just finished a season at Edmonton. Taylor's question is, hey, Nick, is $300,000 too much to spend on a receiver? You're going to ask a receiver if $300,000 is too much to spend on a receiver?
It was the other receiver that said it was. That's the only thing that, you know what, our markets are our markets. And if somebody's willing to pay it, it raises all tides for everybody else. So I'm not going to say $300,000 is too much to pay a receiver. I think if we do a better job of promoting the game, everybody can get paid more.
There we go.
You should. I don't want to see people make what I made. I want to see a progression of how this is going in the right direction. So, $300,000 is not too much to pay a receiver, but you know, depends on what type of offense you have or what type of defense you have.
Yeah.
Like if I have good linebackers, I want good D tackles so they can flow. If I have good corners or not good corners, I want good defensive ends to get past rush so that now he don't have to cover long.
Right.
Right. If I want to run a play action run game, I don't really need to pay a receiver because anybody can run as long as they have some little bit of speed or break some tackles or do things. So it depends on what kind of offense that you're going to run is where you're going to spend your money and the type of value that you need. If I want to, with Vernon Adams, he did really well with McIntyre. Why not have him, why not have that target with him still?
Right.
Right. So it understands it depends on who it is. It depends on the style that you're looking to play with. That's going to give you the advantage because the same guy won't be great on every team.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
we've seen
the
that.
style of offense.
We've seen that.
Right. So you gotta be smart too as a receiver or as a player. Do I want to take the money and nosedive my career potentially or not have a chance to win Grey Cups? Or do I want to take a little less and then have a chance to do those and compete on those stages?
Well, there you go. Nick Lewis, CFL he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And lots more big things coming. Future commissioner, question mark? We'll see.
First black commissioner.
There we go.
That's Jeffrey Orridge, huh?
Yeah, you can't. I guess you can't claim that.
He went from CFL commissioner to Gus Fring.
Yeah, there you go. I think you got a ways to go for Gus Fring. But anyways, Nick, thanks for joining me today. Always a pleasure talking to you. And keep doing big things.
Thank you, brother.
All right, we're going to a break. When we come back, we're getting back into baseball with Mike Wilner from the Deep Left Field podcast. We got so much to talk about with Mike. So let's hit a break, and we'll see you afterwards.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained, aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, we're back in. Of course, I'm not Rod Pedersen. I'm Clark Monroe. Producer Clark. Again, we're just getting back into the swing of things. I haven't been on camera on this show in a while, but that's not important. We're having some fun today, and it's legitimately flown by, so I don't want to waste any more time. We got to get to this guy. Mike Wilner is joining us now. Obviously, the Deep Left Field podcast. So many great episodes coming out lately, Mike. Well done on those. I don't want to bury the lead with you here, so let's just start with what the news from the last couple of days here. Anthony Santander to the Blue Jays. Finally, it feels like, holy cow, finally, something going right. I said it in my notes here, a collective sigh of relief that has caused windstorms across most of Canada, Mike. Does it feel that way to you, getting Anthony Santander lined up?
I don't know if Anthony Santander is the cause of the polar vortex that's out here anyway. That I think -10 here in Toronto. It's quite uncomfortable, but you guys know all about that. But it is a welcome relief. I mean, this is legitimately the first major offensive add to the Toronto Blue Jays in 4 years since they brought in George Springer, Marcus Semien before the 2021 season. So this is something that the Blue Jays have desperately needed for a couple of years now. One could think since they traded Teoscar Hernandez, but that's a whole other story. And it puts a positive light on them after the debacle of the weekend with throwing out a whole big whack of money in their futile chase for Roki Sasaki. So Anthony Santander is good to have. He will help. He is not enough. There's got to be more coming if the Blue Jays want to get out of last place or not have to hope for a whole bunch of ifs in the 2025 season. But it's good news for sure. It's a good start.
Yeah, I have you beat a little bit here, Mike. -45 here yesterday in Saskatchewan. That was, of course, with wind chill. So it was only a measly -37 without the wind chill. So that was good.
We had a -23 wind chill last night, but that's nothing compared to what you guys have.
It's all cold. We don't need to compare and contrast. It's all cold. But like you mentioned, bringing in Anthony Santander, it's almost like a bit of a message. Last year, you'll recall last year, the offseason kind of seemed like they missed out, and then they kind of just patched it up. This year, they missed out. But then they went out and actually, signed a pretty big fish in Santander. They also got Jeff Hoffman a couple weeks ago. Does this signal to you that, yes, maybe this front office does realize that there are some big guys left and they do need to go out and get some guys?
I think they realize that. I think that, it sort of smacks of desperation. They signed Jeff Hoffman earlier this month after Jeff Hoffman failed 2 physicals, one with Baltimore and one with Atlanta. He seemed to think he was okay. It hasn't affected him on the field, this shoulder issue, but the Blue Jays certainly were willing to look past it, though they gave him less money than we know at least Baltimore offered him. And Anthony Santander has been sitting out there after hitting 44 home runs last year to the end of January, and the Blue Jays had to tack a 5th year on and maybe even give him an opt-out and a vesting option for a 6th year or something. We don't know all the details of that part of it yet, but the Blue Jays had to get over and above what Santander was looking for in order to sign him. So it smacks of desperation. I think that they understand that they needed a happy story after what happened with Roki Sasaki and that debacle of the Miles Straw trade on Friday. So this was their reaction to it. But, they're outside their comfort zone philosophically because they might actually put Santander in the outfield, and he's not a good outfielder. But they understand they needed a power bat, despite what Ross Atkins said in October. And the truth is that they need another one. So we'll see. With 3 weeks and change left before spring training opens, we'll see what they do next. But again, I mean, it is a good start. It shows, I don't know what it shows, because it's hard for me to believe that these guys will move off their philosophy. We'll hear from Ross Atkins later this afternoon, but it shows that they were desperate to have some good news, I think.
Well, and like you said, Mike, they can go out and show interest in every single free agent, but unless they can actually sign on the dotted line, it doesn't really matter how much interest they're showing in these guys. They have to actually be able to convince these guys to come. And I think, as you mentioned, a big bat was obviously top of the priority list in terms of offseason stuff. They got at least one, hopefully maybe 1 or 2 more. We'll see how that all plays out. But the other big need, and potentially possibly a larger need, was their bullpen. You mentioned Jeff Hoffman coming in. They went out and brought back Yimi Garcia. Eric Swanson is going to be in a better headspace coming into this year. You might actually see a more complete Eric Swanson. Chad Green is going to be having a healthy offseason. Is this bullpen something that you can look at and say, all right, this is markedly better, or is it still kind of just the remnants of last year with a couple guys mixed in? What are your thoughts on the bullpen right now?
Oh, no, it's markedly better. If Hoffman can stay healthy.
Sure.
And if Yimi Garcia can stay healthy. Remember, he broke down after the trade to Seattle. I think he only made 9 appearances for them before he was out for the season with an arm injury. So that's 2 question marks. Chad Green is spectacular. I mean, he had a rough few outings in September after he really hadn't pitched for a year and a half. So I don't put any of that on him. I'm a big fan of Chad Green. And Eric Swanson was back to himself after the All-Star break. I think he had an ERA under 3. So you've got 4 very good right-handed relievers. Brendan Little showed that he can be a lefty out of the bullpen, an effective lefty, not, like Tim Meza when Tim Meza was being Tim Meza, but it is markedly better than was last year. Last year it was everyone was hurt, and the ones who weren't hurt were ineffective. But I think everyone except for Garcia, who was just a stud. I think the bullpen is fine. You get you didn't mention Nick Sandlin, who is also a solid middle of the bullpen kind of guy, and that gives you 6. And yeah, the bullpen's fine. Maybe Yariel Rodriguez comes back there to help out too if the Blue Jays bring in another starter. We've heard that they're talking to Max Scherzer. That'll be a whole interesting thing. Again, another if he can stay healthy, if he can be effective in his 40s. But I'm less worried about the bullpen now. Again, I think they need to add another big bat. I don't know if they think they need to add another big bat, but I think they absolutely do.
Yeah, and Mike, I mean, you and I think I could go pretty deep on some prospect talk and, breaking down if they need an extra left-handed arm in the bullpen or not, or if you can rely on the splitters of Eric Swanson and Nick Sandlin or to kind of get through that. I'm going to leave that for another talk. I'd love to get down in the dirty weeds with you in terms of all that stuff. But I think the big question in a lot of people's minds across baseball right now, and it's our poll question today. Basically, I'm going to open-ended question this one for you. Are the LA Dodgers good for baseball, bad for baseball? What are your thoughts?
Fantastic for baseball.
There you
Could
go.
not be better for baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers are what every team should be doing. They are spending their money on great players and building a phenomenal team, even though they've won like 1,000 division titles in a row and are just coming off the World Series. The Los Angeles Dodgers are perfect, and they should be aspirational. This should be what every team is doing. Every team has so much money. I mean, the teams that are crying poor are maybe have less money than the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, but they've still got a crap load of money. And if they were willing to spend it, would still be making money every year, maybe just not as much money as the owner wants to make. These teams are worth so much. The team's owners are worth so much. The players are providing an exceptional product. They're the ones who deserve it. I'd always rather see the money go to a player than go to an owner. And the Los Angeles Dodgers are doing that. There's no salary cap. Take advantage. Don't be the Marlins or the Pirates. The Tigers and the Royals were successful last year on shoestrings. They don't need to be on shoestrings. Spend your damn money. Bring in good players. Have a great team. Yes, the Dodgers are phenomenal for baseball.
Okay, I lied. I'm going to ask you one prospects question because I just have to get this in here, and then I'll let you go, Mike, for the day. But there are 4 players that I think could have impacts on this roster as it stands today. Will Wagner, Joey Loperfido, or Elvis Martinez potentially, and Addison Barger, who we saw last year. Do you think these guys will be on the roster, or do you see a potential trade package getting worked out where these guys could be out the door to bring in a more veteran guy?
I think all 4 of them could potentially be on the roster at some point this year. But if it were me, I would absolutely think about putting a package together to bring in not necessarily a more veteran player, but a more proven player, someone who can step in and is going to contribute to a winning team in 2025, because I don't know that you can count on any of those 4 to do that this year. If Joey Loperfido is your opening day left fielder, you got question marks. If Addison Barger is your opening day third baseman, you got a big question mark right there. I would rather have someone who's established, who you know what you're going to get for them. And if that means packaging up a bunch of the kids, that means packaging up a bunch of the kids. That's what they're here for too.
Perfect. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining me today. Deep Left Field podcast. Make sure you check it out. Lots of great episodes this offseason so far. Appreciate your work there, Mike. And hopefully we'll talk to you again down the road a little bit too.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, there we go. Mike Wilner, the great Mike Wilner. Appreciate the time. We're going to hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll wrap this all up because we're right at the end of our clock, so we got to get going. See you after the commercial break.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, we basically only have enough time to mention that Overtime is brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Make sure you hit them up if you're in town. They're an awesome place to go. And that's pretty much all the time we have for Overtime. Super appreciative of everyone for hanging out today with us, checking in, saying hello. It's been a great day. Rod will be back tomorrow, and everything's back to normal. See you guys later.
Great job, Jordan, by the way. I love the job you did on that.
Let me just flip my headphones back on here. There we go.